We're going to call the meeting to order, meeting number 2025-0109WS.
We'd like to remind everyone to please speak clearly into the mic and silence your mobile devices. To help with sound quality, please make sure you speak directly in your microphone and mute it when you're not speaking. If anyone is having trouble hearing at any point during the meeting, please raise your hand and someone will bring you an audio assistance device. Thank you very much.
We'll ask again our city clerk to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Rydell?
Here.
Commissioner Wasserman?
Here.
Commissioner Brody?
Here.
Vice Mayor Raley?
Here.
Mayor Welch?
Here.
City Manager Rose?
Here.
City Attorney Pyburn?
Here.
Now, if everyone will please rise, and we'll have the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted live with a physical quorum present, and the material for today's meeting is available online at www.coconutcreek.net, and the meeting is being broadcast live. We'll now hear the discussion item regarding the city's proposed 2025 federal legislative agenda. And our Government Affairs Manager, Bernadette Hughes, is going to open up. Where are you? Can you come up here,
Oh, okay.
please?
It's like, where is she? Sure.
Now we can see you.
Oh, she's not.
Okay. Now, we are expecting Teresa Breyer, and so when she gets here, I might swap seats with her so she can speak with you more directly. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Thank you for setting this workshop as a time to go over this past legislative session, as well as meet with our elected representatives to talk about the city's interests and concerns for the future. I would like to start off by introducing our special guests. At the state level, Senator Tina Polsky and State Representative Christine Hunchofsky are joining us. And I will point out they took time off from the first committee week of the legislative session to be here, and we very much appreciate that. Teresa Breyer, who's the Deputy Director for Jared Moskowitz's office, will be joining us as well. With regard to our federal lobbyists, Jim Crum and Harry Glenn have traveled from Washington, D.C. to be here today. And we have Candace Eriks and Lauren Jackson here as our state lobbyists. And I will point out, they have been here since 1 o'clock, meeting with all of our departments to talk about our department issues, as well as funding requests and funding needs. So it's been a long day for them, and we appreciate it. Thank you. So why are we here? All of you have in front of you our legislative binders. You'll notice that they're much smaller than last year's, but they have the same content of information, just a little bit less background information. I've been working diligently with our staff and our lobbyists to compile these agendas based on our concerns, our past experience, and possible local, regional, and federal issues that could impact the city. Our lobbyists will walk you through the changes, but the purpose today is to gather your input on those legislative agendas so that we can update and finalize these documents and bring them back before you on January 23rd for your approval. Okay, Teresa, I'll swap with you in one moment. Thanks. From a staff perspective, you'll see many repeat issues in these binders. Anything in yellow is an add-on, or it's something that we've been editing. Hopefully that will make it easier to process. At the highest level, we're talking about supporting home rule, opposing unfunded mandates, applying for state and federal funding and appropriations, and following key issues that could impact the city. I've asked both our lobbyists to talk about some of the funding opportunities we're pursuing this legislative session, including appropriations and grants. We're excited about these opportunities, but we may need some help from our elected representatives. We are also excited about the funds we received or are scheduled to receive this past year, particularly the $1.15 million for the redundant fiber optic loop, which was an appropriation request with Congressman Moskowitz's office, and we should find out for sure in March, as that's been held up in the congressional process. And the $75,000 we received for a city water project that was sponsored by both Christine and Tina, and at the end of this session, we'll be receiving a ceremonial check presentation from them. We plan to apply for state appropriation funding for several water projects this year, including our AMI Advanced Metering Infrastructure Project to modernize the city's outdated metering processes. We also plan to apply for federal appropriation funds, and we'll be working with Teresa and our federal lobbyists to submit those requests once they open and the criteria is released. We expect that to happen in the coming weeks. Public Works will be submitting a state brick grant for the Fleet Building Rehabilitation project, and we just submitted an AFG grant for various fire rescue equipment. I bring these up because at all of these levels, we engage our state lobbyists, our federal lobbyists, and our elected officials, whether it's for letters of support, whether it's for rereading our application. Part of the reason why we're receiving these funds and we're doing so well with legislation are the relationships that we've built with them. And this brings me to my final point, collaboration and relationships. We're so fortunate to have amazing relationships with everyone on the dais because we all work together to further the city's interests. This past year, when we were concerned with the Department of Interior's proposed changes to the regulations governing trust land acquisition, it was our federal lobbyists who brought this to our attention, who set up meetings with federal agencies and elected officials, who worked with staff to draft report language, and who worked with me to coordinate our response. It was Congressman Moskowitz's office who coordinated with us when meeting with the Seminoles, and it was our state lobbyists who assisted with coordinating with the Florida Association of Counties, the Florida League of Cities, and Broward County to keep the issue on their radar. When we have issues with the Turnpike, it's Representative Hunchofsky and Senator Polsky who advocate for the city. When we have issues with mail not getting delivered, it's Congressman Moskowitz's office who comes to the rescue to advocate for us. And when we apply for appropriations or funding, it's a combination of letters of support from our elected officials, meetings with state and federal agencies facilitated by our lobbyists, and guidance and support provided by everyone to produce the highest quality product with the best chance of moving forward and being considered. I appreciate the commitment of everyone on the dais to supporting the interests of the city at all levels. Thank you for these few moments of privilege to provide an overview of our legislative process and the participants. With that, I will turn the meeting over to our distinguished guests to speak to the legislative agendas and politics in Washington and Tallahassee, unfortunately, and then we can hear from our lobbyists and finally from you, our commission. Thank you.
All right, Teresa, if you'd like to come on up, I'm sorry. I just asked Bernadette to come forward so we could see her a little bit better, but welcome.
She gave up, I'm done, but I don't even have anything. No. Hi, everyone. Sorry. Are you looking for me to start?
Whoever chooses to, go right ahead.
You want to go federal or state?
Federal.
Okay.
Okay. Well, hello, can you hear me well? Like, do I need to pull it closer? Can you hear me? Well, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. It's always great to be here in Coconut Creek. I want to thank you all. The Congressman appreciates his partnership with the city. Sheila, Bernadette, the whole staff is phenomenal here. I mean, we keep in touch with them regularly. I joke around with Bernadette. It's like I think I talk to her more than I talk to my own sister because we really do keep in great communication with each other. So out of the 16 cities the Congressman represents, Coconut Creek, of course, his district encompasses the entire city. So it's very important to us to make sure that there's representation wherever wherever there is an event. So being part of the Butterfly, festival that you have, we've had a table there along with, I think our state legislators as well. We've also had representation at the senior expos over the years. We've gone into like Winmore and some of the other communities to have like mobile office hours, also along with the state legislators. And we appreciate being involved in the Lunch Bunch, which is the principal roundtable that happens, I think, every month too, which gives us an opportunity to connect with the school district, know what's going on with the principals, and make sure that we let the congressman know what's happening while he's in Washington, D.C. With regards to casework, I know that she just mentioned the wonderful post office. There was a couple of things brought to our attention recently from the city, and that was the issue with mail getting to some of the South Creek residents and some of the communities in Coconut Creek as a whole, and we were able to partner with you as a team and help them and get it resolved, thankfully. There was also an issue with the mail with the Seminoles. Unfortunately, it was solved, and unfortunately, they're having issues again. So I just got a call this week from them that they're, again, having some issues. So we're working on that.
And then I also wanted to mention, I mean, you know, through our casework, we always help constituents, and being that there's veterans, there's Social Security, Medicare, passports, anything that comes to mind, if there's any issues, have them contact us. I think they pretty much, you guys all know, and we have a great relationship, so hopefully you can just send them our way and keep them coming. With regards to the community project funding, we've worked together also, Bernadette constantly keeping us in touch and in the loop. You already heard a little bit about what you said last. I wanted to mention the fiscal year 24 with the being able to get the body cameras for the police department. That was wonderful. That was $963,000 for that project. And then the one this year is still pending, but that's the one that she mentioned with the fiber optic ring project. And that's something that was, we're really hoping that we find out soon. I think you said March, so that sounds about right. That was $1,152,000. And we are awaiting guidance for this year. We hope that we will get it, you know, hopefully we'll get it soon and we'll be able to start working. But my suggestion is get everything ready, your ducks in a row, whatever projects are needed. We'll look at the guidance from last year as a sample. If they change it, then we'll move to change it if we need anything else. And then lastly, I'll just end with the grants. We constantly do support letters, and I know your city is well aware of that. Some aren't. So whenever there's a grant that you guys are applying for, there's always a letter of support the congressman sends along with it. I think the most recent one that was sent out was the AFG, which is the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. You guys also have done the SAFER one, the SAFER FEMA grant, which is the staffing for adequate fire emergency response. But there's all types of grants that you've gone through, and we will always continue to support it. I also wanted to mention two things that I almost forgot about. One is Junior Achievement, which is in Coconut Creek, just recently got a grant from the Department of Labor. The congressman did a support letter for that. We're hoping to do a grant award announcement there, and we'd love for you all to come and participate. So I'll let you know when that happens. That was a $1.3 million grant, and that was for their Youth Build project. So that's great news. And then we are waiting to hear what happens with a new bill. I did talk to the mayor about this briefly, and of course Bernadette's aware as well. There was a bill put in last year for the 118th Congress to try to get the whole city to encompass the zip codes, which we've all heard everything that comes up. It comes up Pompano Beach for the name instead of Coconut Creek. So he had last year put Coconut Creek in for it, and that was one of the cities. It didn't end up going all the way through. The bill passed, but of course you got the Senate and the signature of the president, so it didn't go all the way through. So we're going to be reintroducing it, and I'll keep you looped in on what the bill number is and all that information and how it's going. So hopefully, we'll see. We're getting a few more of the other cities, not just Coconut Creek, but I wanted to make sure you knew, because you were always asking through the years, and it's been a challenge to get anything through with the post office to change it. So hopefully, fingers crossed. And with that, I'll turn it over if you guys want to go ahead. And thank you again for everything you do. We appreciate it. Thank you to our representative and senator, too, I forgot to say, for all you do, and we appreciate the partnership with you as well. Okay.
Thank you, Teresa.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for letting us be here today. First, I want to introduce from our staff, Will Smith is here with us this time. He's making his first trip to Coconut Creek, so we had a chance to drive Will through the community today, and he's heard a lot about it but never seen it in person, so excited to have Will here with us today, so thank you. We want to thank Teresa. As a former 34-year congressional staff member, I always appreciate tremendous staff work, and Teresa and Congressman Moskowitz's team are just wonderful to work with. They're most accessible. They take meetings. They give good advice, and so they're a great reflection on their boss, Congressman Moskowitz. So thank you, Teresa, for all that you do. And Jim's going to talk a little bit, but give you a recap on what we've been doing for you over the past year. But Bernadette asked us just to give you a quick overview of what's happening in Washington right now. You all are very politically astute, so you probably don't need a whole lot of information from me. But as Teresa indicated, you know, the 119th Congress was sworn in last Friday on January 3rd. Even were able to elect a speaker on the first ballot, so that's great. Took a little time, but they finally got started and started this Congress on time. As you know, the inauguration is coming up on January 20th, so once that occurs, I think they're really going to step off aggressively with a number of issues to look at future spending, look at future tax code and other issues. Unfortunately, as Teresa also mentioned, the 118th Congress unlike you here in Coconut Creek or the state legislature, was unable to finish their budget work on time again. And so they will have extended into a continuing funding resolution to keep the government open until March 14th. So that puts on hold all the federal programs, a lot of the federal grant programs, the earmark projects that Teresa talked about for the fiber optic project for you are all on hold until they're able to finish that work in March. All the appropriations bills need to be reintroduced because it's a new Congress, and just today, the House Appropriations Committee and the Senate Appropriations Committee named their Appropriations Committee chairman and subcommittee chairman, so now they're able to start the work of trying to get that work done, hopefully a little bit before March 14th. It's tough to run a federal government when you're 6 months into your fiscal year before you get your final budget. So we'll continue to track to make sure the fiber optic project remains on course that Congressman Moskowitz worked on for you. The other, I think, important fact, I know you all know this, is Senator Rubio will likely be confirmed as Secretary of State on January 20th, right after the inauguration. That'll leave an opening in the Senate, and Governor DeSantis will be appointing a new senator. So we anxiously wait to see who that will be and to start working with him or her to help promote your issues with her office or his office in Coconut Creek. So we expect it to be a quick startup to the new year. We will be aggressive in tracking any issues that the new administration brings up that may impact you in a positive or negative way here in Coconut Creek. We talked about some of those potential issues today with Bernadette and your staff, and so we will keep an eye out. If you have questions or anything we can answer, certainly Jim and I are available to help you out with that. If you're ever in town, we'd love to take you by and meet the new senator and meet some of the new folks there. So, but again, thank you to Congressman Moskowitz for what you do. We really appreciate it. And thanks to Bernadette and your staff. We really had a great afternoon with everybody and talked about all the important projects that are going on here in Coconut Creek. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Crum.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Just to echo Harry's comments, Congressman Moskowitz's office is just fantastic to work with. Claire Plash, the LIDS director, we work with. She knows us, by face when we're coming down the hallway. She's extremely helpful. She always feels that the city has their requests well organized, well thought out, and makes them very, very competitive for selection. And of course, Teresa's doing all the linking coordination between down here and up there as well. So it's a really good operating set of relationships. I'm just going to go over quickly a little bit the changes in the federal agenda because I think you have a couple of weeks to review it to make it final. And we have made some changes to it, and I'm just going to give a quick overview. And of course, the federal agenda covers a recap of this year, what was accomplished, and what we're focusing on next year. So a little bit about the way it's constructed. It's 22 different issues organized over 5 different issue areas: energy and environment, social services and economic development, infrastructure, public safety, and regulatory. And the first 2 pages of the agenda really does a flash, snap recap of what accomplished, what we went through this year, what things are still pending, what things that were wrapped up. So I'm just going to cover a couple of those points as we look at in review of this year. And before I get started, we had 7 different meetings, 7 different department meetings today. And we welcome coming down every year, not only to see our friends, but to learn again the local perspective of the projects and needs that you have down here at the city. We can't do our job unless we understand your perspective of your needs, your priorities, and things change so much from year to year. Those meetings are so helpful, and Bernadette spearheads all of those and just makes the day such a worthwhile day. So we really appreciate what she does for us. So on the first couple of pages on the federal agenda, I'm going to cover funding in just a second, but we did lead with this very critical issue on the BIA and the fee of trust issue, which we worked on all year, had a number of different meetings. We made connections in Washington, D.C. at the deputy secretary level that was in charge of policy for this fee to trust ruling that went through that was proposed in 2023 and finalized, I think, in December of 2023. And it basically streamlines the fee to trust process, but the concern and the issue is it could limit local government involvement and oversight and opportunity for input for fee to trust actions. And I will tell you, you're not the only one with these concerns, even though it's sensitive. You're working with tribal policy. We represent communities on the West Coast that are very concerned about this issue. Anytime you have tribal lands, partnering closely with an urban environment, this issue is very sensitized. So we met with Deputy Secretary level at the BIA. We expressed our concerns. She actually knew the city very well. She had worked with Sheila before, years ago, and she understood the whole agreement that was made between the Seminole Nation and the city of Coconut Creek as a model of success of how it can work. And so we emphasize that very strongly. The status of where that is right now is that they went to a final rule, but the devil's in the details. The actual details of how they're going to implement the rule, the step-by-step procedures, will clarify your role in reviewing these actions. And that is going to be put together in a fee to trust manual. And we contact the BIA maybe 3 or 4 times a month. That manual has not been released yet. And so we are waiting for that manual to be released. They know your concerns and interest in that manual. And as soon as it is, that will trigger another set of involvement and coordination with the BIA on interpretation of that manual and to make sure that both sides, both interests are well served. So that's one of our hot policy issues that we have. Moving on in terms of funding. As it was mentioned, the congressional directed request, funding request supported by the congressman, 1.15 for the redundant fiber optic green project. It was a very strong project request. The congressman's office was keyed on it right away. They're very supportive of it. Of course, it goes to his background of emergency management, and they're very, very supportive of that project. We're waiting until March 14th for the appropriation bills to be completed, which would codify that funding citation, that funding request, and then we will help you go through the application process to pull those funds down, which we did this year on the body-worn camera grant, which you got the previous year. There's really 2 parts of this process. One is making the request and navigating it through the system. Once it's approved, helping you actually get the money, get the funding. And that application process, we keep the Congressman's office informed about, and we help provide technical assistance to that process. So that was a redundant fiber optic green project. We asked for 2 projects this year. The Congressman supported 1. He gets a limited number of requests that he can approve every year. He supported that one, but we pivoted and went and recommended that the city fleet hardening project would be very eligible for a grant strategy, specifically the FEMA brick grant strategy. And the city, we helped the city or reviewed the city's notice of intent to apply for that grant back in September. They recently got feedback from FEMA, positive feedback, and were invited to submit a final application, which is a very good sign. They have to work to the state to do that, State Hazard Mitigation Office, and we made that connection with the State Hazard Mitigation Office and the city. So that is a front-leading grant application we're going through right now for $1.6 million, and that is due, I believe, in February, the grant application process. So we should know in next year whether you receive that or not. And then finally, we developed a grant funding targeted schedule and forecast, which is on the second page. We put different dates in there and different funding opportunities that we think are going to arise this year and that we want to position yourselves and help you put together competitive applications or requests for funding, including the next round, as Teresa said, the next round of congressional requested funds that will happen in February, March. So we're ready to launch on that as well and work closely with the Congressman's office and the Senator's office on that as well. So that's kind of a recap of the first 2 pages. The remaining pages is a page-by-page single breakdown or overview of each individual issue. If you have a pet issue or a single issue you're very interested in, you can go and look at that breakdown, that write-up of the issue, and highlighted in yellow is the update of the latest information on that particular issue. Finally, as a final step, you've already provided comments to us on the federal agenda. We got it from the mayor. The mayor, you asked us, we got the email traffic to include the monarch butterfly in consideration for the draft federal agenda. I have the added page to go in the federal agenda, and it will now be incorporated to complete the package for your review. So thank you for making that suggestion. I think it's a very important issue to include in the agenda, and now it is included. So that's all I had. We're happy to answer any questions.
I don't see anyone in the queue. Do you want to go down? Anybody? Well, I just want to thank you. Thank you very much, not only for the new considerations, but also, as Bernadette mentioned, the very positive and forward-moving relationships that are built over time and continue to produce such results with our elected. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll now move on and hear the discussion item regarding the city's proposed state legislative agenda. And thank you all for being here and for how you serve us in your capacity. We really appreciate it. So we'll let you kick it off, Senator.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. There we go. So this is my 7th legislative session coming up. I can't even believe it. It's my 5th representing Coconut Creek. And so, looking forward to getting started, we have a really special working relationship with Congressman's office, Teresa especially, Christine and I, our state lobbyists, all of you on the dais. We feel very comfortable working together and hearing your ideas. So, we're very lucky that we have that kind of relationship, and I think it helps serve the city very well. On that note, please let us know any bill ideas you have. Just found out one today from Commissioner Rydell, and excited to work on that idea. And we still have a few more weeks, so any other ideas that you might have for bills, please let us know, and we will look into it. So we are in that bill forming stage right now. We start our first substantive committee week on Monday. So at this moment, we're kind of busy figuring out our bills, what we're going to propose. As a senator, I have unlimited slots, which is really beneficial. Yes. My friend Christine only has 7, but when I was there, I only had 6, so there you go. But we work together on numerous bills. And of course, we work together on appropriations for the city. We were happy to bring back one this year. We know there were a lot of vetoes last year, even though we were able to get another one in the budget. So we'll continue to push forward. We have amazing lobbyists, and they know how to structure these appropriation requests to give us the best chance to get them in. So I look forward to continuing to work with you on those. Usually we always get, one solid one, and we'll try to get a few more, but it's challenging. The other thing that's challenging is the Speaker of the House has already announced that he's cutting back. And even though, the state seems to have tons of money, he's already made that announcement. So just be prepared. Doesn't mean we don't try. There's nothing wrong with trying for whatever amount you think is appropriate. As many as you think is appropriate, but let's set our expectations because he's made that very clear and he's been very public about it. One thing I would suggest, especially with your municipal elections coming up very shortly, is that you remind everyone they have to re-register to vote by mail. Even if they voted by mail in November, it starts over in the year 2025. So if you all could do your city communications to tell people, just do it anyway, they don't have to use it, it can come in the mail, they can still vote in person, but since municipal elections don't always get the biggest turnout, if it's sitting on their kitchen table, maybe they'll use it. So this is a law that we passed a few years ago. Unfortunately, it used to be that after you voted on the vote by mail, you checked a box, and the next election, whatever it was, would come to you by mail. That is no longer the case. So every 2 years, and as calendar years, they have to re-register. So we are going to put out in our communications about that, but I suggest that you let people know because it's coming up very quickly, and there probably will be, a time certain that they have to get that in by. I know you talk about, one major agenda item for the state is home rule. And as I mentioned, it's my 7th year. And I'm amazed every year that they keep finding new ways to preempt local government. Each year we have a bill that we say, this is the mother of all preemption bills, and that will be the end, and it never is. And we have a Republican supermajority, so as much as we will kick and scream and do our best, we don't have the power to stop it. So this is something that seems to occur every year. And, we have good working relationships, obviously, with you and our other cities and the League of Cities, and they keep us on top of all these issues. And I will tell you again, you might see things in a bill that we don't see. And I know I love to get emails from you guys telling me, you're in this committee, this is coming up. I sit on a government operations committee, so, please let me know if you see something that might be problematic that I might not realize is. So that's just the nature of what we have, and it's hard to not have that balanced government because the compromise is not always there. We do manage to get some good bills passed, some appropriations, but it's challenging. So just know that more could come down the pike. I don't have specific information on anything, but I know that's always an issue, and we do our best to try to advocate for local government. Teresa mentioned like events in the district. We, especially with Christine and I, try to come to as many, our staff come to as many, sponsor as many as we can. We recently did a mobile DMV event, which is great. People really like that. And we will continue to do things like that in the district. Let us know if you have needs, suggestions. Sometimes we're happy to be able to financially sponsor it. So, let us know if things come up. I know you're probably hearing from your constituents, as we do from ours, about the condo law, safety laws, as well as the insurance crisis, and those two have combined to create just the perfect storm, thank you, of expenses going up tremendously. And everyone says to me, well, how are they going to fix it this year? I don't think that they are. There's not going to be any kind of financial bailout. There's not going to be from the state some kind of special loans. I think individual cities might do things. I think certain private institutions might do things. But it is my feeling, and I've heard this from leadership, that they can't bail out condos just like they can't bail out individual homeowners. If you haven't taken care of your roof, they're not going to give you a special loan to get a new roof. And they kind of feel that same way about condos. And it's hard for us in South Florida in this area because we have so many in our area, and there are lots of parts of the state that don't have any. So, we're not going to give up on fighting for fairness, but I don't expect, some big miracle to happen this year to save our residents from having to, pay into the reserves. They don't have to pay it all at once. They have to pay it up to the time that it will be required to be fixed. But I don't see it going anywhere. And again, the Speaker of the House is from Miami, and he's been really adamant about these safety regulations. And every time there's been a proposal to not 3 stories, make it 4 stories, make it X number of miles from the water, which would help our area, he's held back. And he's wanted to enforce, kind of the original plan of the safety legislation. As far as the insurance crisis goes, again, I don't think that there's any kind of silver bullet coming. There are more insurance companies, but the rates have not gone down. So, we will continue to propose ideas to try to help. They're not always heard. They're not heard. But we will continue to try, and, we'll see. But I just want to set expectations that I don't think, there's going to be some magic formula happening. Just to let you know what's happening as far as timing, as I said, we're starting our first substantive committee week on Monday. There are 5 of them through January and February, and then our session starts March 4th through the very beginning of May. So we'll be there for the 9 weeks. So you won't see us for a little while. I'm sure we'll be back over the summer to give you a legislative wrap-up. And, just let us know. I have 7 cities. And obviously, we're going to be a little far away. So please let us know if there's any events going on that you would like us to be a part of. If there's recognitions, things of great accomplishments of some of our residents, or if there's any other issues going on that, even though we don't necessarily play a role in, happy to write a letter or do whatever we can to support. But we need to hear from you guys and work together so we know exactly what's going on. Again, appreciate our close working relationship and look forward to a successful session and helping Coconut Creek as best we can. Thank you.
Well, just a quick question. If you mentioned that there is a lot of money at the state level, but the speaker is not willing to part with much. So what, in your opinion, would be interested in parting funds so that we could focus in on that?
I think that our fabulous lobbyists will have a good indication of what
We're open.
What areas. I don't know that there's a particular area that is better than others, but I think he's just said he's going to look really strongly, hardly at individual appropriations and just be tougher on it. He didn't say a specific area, as far as I'm aware, just in general to be a little more hard-nosed about it. And again, this past session, there were more vetoes than I'd seen in a long time too. And there's no rhyme or reason. There were Democrats, there were Republicans, some might have been political on both sides of the aisle. Some didn't make any sense. He gave zero funding to the arts because he was annoyed about one particular project. That makes no sense whatsoever. So there's really not a formula specifically. I would just say have different silos. Don't put all of them in the same silo so that we could, especially for me in the Senate, I get to pick like my top ones in each silo. And so it's better to be spread out in different ones than all be in environment, for example, because that gives me an opportunity to put it first. So that would be my only specific suggestion. But we will work with them to figure out the best way forward.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Raley.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to know if we could possibly get the gift of time on the reserve issue of being fully funded. If they could at least give us an extension of time, that would help greatly.
Right.
Instead of having to have it funded within the 2 years that they had allocated, that if we could spread it out, maybe over a course of years.
It's my understanding that the money needs to be in the reserves for the particular project when that project is due. So if the roof in Winmore is in 10 years, then you have 10 years to get it to the right amount, but I think you need to put in the equal amounts each year to get to the 10 years. So it's not automatic. And I know this is a public forum, but there is no enforcement mechanism.
Representative Panchonsky.
Thank you. First of all, I'm so happy to be here. I love my job, and I want to thank all of you for being wonderful partners in this process. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that today is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and I saw the chief earlier, and I want to thank all the members of the Coconut Creek Police Department for all the work they do to keep the community safe. I also appreciate the program, the Do the Right Thing program that all of you are so invested in. It's just fantastic, and it is the best 30 minutes of the month. I want to thank you for your partnership in so many things. Senator Polsky mentioned the flow events that we have here regularly. We have another one coming up that we're working on together for the community on February 3rd. They're very popular because it's much better waiting at the Coconut Creek Community Center than it is at the DMV. Additionally, I wanted to mention how the condo problem issues, the My Safe Florida Home Condo Pilot Program that I worked with Representative Lopez on that passed. We did have one community within Winmore that was able to get in on time on the grant. We did as much as we could to prepare people for it. I wish there was more, and I hope that there will be more funding for that this year. While we don't, quote unquote, bail homeowners out, we do give them the My Safe Florida Home program, and I think the condominium should have that same opportunity that single-family homeowners have. Broward Days is coming up. March 18th and 19th, correct? And I look forward to seeing you all up there. It's a wonderful time to kind of get to see the process in action, which can be at times overwhelming, at times madness, and then at times absolutely wonderful when you see some of the things that can get done. Additionally, I know junior achievement, you guys are huge supporters of junior achievement. We were lucky to bring in funding for them and their pre-apprenticeship program this year of over $700,000, which was wonderful. So I just wanted to mention that. And I look forward to working with all of you this session. As always, I appreciate the partnership that you show to us year-round. Whether it's the amazing city events you have, like the caravan that didn't take as long this year as it did the previous year, as well as the Butterfly Festival, the Lunch Bunch, where we really get to see what's going on in the schools that are located within the city limits. And I just want to thank you all for the work you do on behalf of the residents. We get communication from you on a regular basis when we're in session. We get communication from you on a regular basis when we're not in session. You make sure that any issues that are coming your way, whether it's dealing with waste management or whatever the issue may be, you make sure that we're well informed so that we can partner and support you as you support us, as we are all working together in one direction in order to help the residents of Coconut Creek. So I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right. Candace or Lauren, I'm not sure who wants to go first.
Well, first of all, can you hear me? Okay, wonderful. Well, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, obviously staff, City Manager, and everybody, we just want to say thank you. We love the relationship. And I do want to say thank you to both our Senator and our Representative, because without you guys and what you do for this city, we could not do what we do. So we really appreciate that. And of course, Teresa, which I don't get a chance to work with all that often, but we were good friends. I just want to say thank you. I mean, the advocacy that you guys do for this city, I just have to say that, you guys get to come up to Broward Days or when you come up for the League of Cities, but you really don't get to see what we get to see, Lauren and I, what they do, not only in committee, but two other members, and also, behind closed doors and, during the weekends and in the evenings and in the early mornings. So just wanted to say thank you. But I'm going to turn it over to Lauren here in a second. But, of course, we want you to come up for Broward Days, but we absolutely welcome you to any time. We love having the assistants up there. When we want to do this, we might want to look at possibly the committee weeks instead of coming up, we want you up in Broward Days. But if you come up in committee weeks, we've got, as Senator Polsky said, we have 2 weeks in January, we've got 3 weeks in February. Historically, 1 week in February is dedicated to budget. We'd want to have you up earlier in February if that's possible. And then, obviously during the legislative session. But I will also say that you get our weekly reports, but we want to make sure that you guys all have our cell phone numbers, which you do, and we communicate. Bernadette, and I apologize, Bernadette is amazing. You guys all know this, but I'm telling you, the longstanding relationship that we have, and I think Lauren talks to Bernadette probably more than anybody else in Tallahassee a lot of the time, but we just want to thank her for her dedication and her guidance, because without that, and a lot of the time, we have to make decisions within minutes up in Tallahassee, and so Bernadette's always right there. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren real quick, but then we'll finish it up if there's any questions that I can come back to.
And I will be brief and quick as possible. The Senator and the Representative already covered a lot of the information that I was going to go over as well. But to start off, I just want to start off quickly with funding and reiterate thank you to Bernadette. We had a very productive afternoon with a lot of really good ideas and some things that we're going to be following up on. We're just very near to finalizing the forms for our state appropriation asks, and that's one of the things that we're working on too, is diversifying the requests to get some others in different silos and kind of balancing that out. So we should be having that all finalized pretty shortly. Just real quick with the legislative agenda, just to highlight some of the changes from this year. What we added in we moved it from the watch list into the regular program is sovereign immunity. Well, let me back up actually. We can expect a lot of what we saw last year. returning. So a lot of those same issues that you see in your packet, we updated them to where the current status is, but you can see a lot of that returning this year, whether it's home rule, municipal revenues, local business taxes, enterprise funds we expect to return, pretty much everything except for maybe, hopefully, the preemption on vacation rentals, because Governor DeSantis did say exactly what we were hoping he would in his veto message, so we're hoping that at least holds a preemption at bay on that issue. We might see something positive in terms of vacation rentals, but hopefully not the preemption again. But what we did move from the watch list to the regular program is sovereign immunity. This is an issue that we have been dealing with for the past several years, but last year when we weren't able to close the deal on a moderate increase and the CPI every 5 years capped at 3%, which would have moderately increased it in perpetuity. We were really hoping to get that deal. Unfortunately, that fell through. And we were told that if this deal falls through, then you guys are going to be looking at, again, another threat of perhaps a drastic increase. So that's something that we are very mindful of. And we're actually starting meetings with our coalition, I think tomorrow, I believe is the first meeting that the Sovereign Immunity Coalition will be gearing back up again. We also added in a paragraph for public camping and sleeping, just to ask for more clarity in the law that was passed last session, also to try to address the civil cause of action, and maybe provide a source of funding to help implement the mandate that is in the or I guess it's not a mandate, but the solution that's provided in that legislation that passed last year. And the other thing that we did is we expanded on the affordable health care for seniors. We do expect that to continue to be a focus. We know Senator Harrell has some great ideas that she's planning on pursuing in terms of that, but we expanded it to also include language on condo affordability and housing affordability, which the Senator and Representative already covered, and also the My Safe Florida Condo Program, which we want to commend Representative Hunchofsky for getting across the finish line and sponsoring, and even, did you come up with it?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. And we just added some additions to the watch list as well, PFAS and some other things that we're monitoring along with the Florida League of Cities. And I also want to add too, not just thanks to Bernadette, but also thanks to Terrell as well, and Pete Gay. During session, they provide a lot of really valuable insight that's very, very helpful in a lot of wide range of areas. So we just want to thank your staff.
And just to add to that, as the Senator and Representative mentioned, bills are starting to get filed now. And so, it's kind of slow rolling right now with some of the committee meetings. So I have a feeling that it's going to go fast when February hits. Yeah, real fast. Yeah, and maybe even a special session. But as they come out, and we send them, and we'll send them to Bernadette in the feedback, like I said, but we keep an ongoing bill list of things for you to follow and to be updated on. So if there's anything that's outside of the purview of what we put together for your agenda, we make sure that that's something that you have as well.
So you mentioned the committee weeks versus Broward days, or not really versus, but in addition to. And one of the electeds in front of us had mentioned that in previous years that it would be extremely beneficial. Based on that, can you make a recommendation of our items that would be better weeks to come as options for any of us that might choose to be there?
I would say the first week of February.
Yeah, and the earlier February weeks, the first,
Right,
second, or
because you've got 3 weeks right in a row, so you've got the first week you've got 3 weeks in February, so
Any days or?
definitely not Monday, so
And
Tuesday or
definitely Friday.
Wednesday.
Well, that's good to know.
Tuesday, Wednesday,
usually
early
the best.
February.
coming in a Monday evening.
And just if we decide to do that, work through Bernadette, because, the requests need to go in, weeks in advance for your preparation to make sure that we can get people in front of the committee
Hence
chairs.
asking tonight. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I see Commissioner Brody's in the queue. I didn't mean to go in front of you, but I wanted to get that out of the way. Thanks a lot.
No problem, Mayor. I really don't have a question. I just want to say, thank you all for coming out here. I know you guys flying down from D.C. It's not the weather you actually wanted when you come to Coconut Creek. I apologize for that. But it is sunny at least. I make the weather, man. That's the kind of power I have. So I really appreciate you guys coming in and giving your briefing. It's really nice to see you guys. Teresa, always a pleasure to see you. Ran into Teresa the other night, New Year's Eve, with the whole family, so that was kind of fun to run into people here in Creek, so I appreciate you supporting our community. Senator and Representative, I always enjoy seeing you guys. I love seeing you guys. You guys are doing such a great job up there. I appreciate all the work that you're doing. I know sometimes you don't get the good feedback, you only get the crappy feedback, so I want to say I appreciate what you guys do up there, because it's not easy. I've gotten to witness it way too many times now that it's chaos when we go up there. But I really want to highlight LJ. Candace, you're also obviously wonderful. LJ is a freaking monster up there. I could not keep up with that girl at all. She was running up and down those hallways. I'll be right back in 2 minutes, and she was running around doing all this stuff. It is absolutely the machine that keeps all this moving, and you really got to appreciate how hard she works. I mean, and she did it in heels one day, and I was like, oh, I can't even do it in flats. She's killing me. So I really appreciate what you're doing, LJ, and Candace, I hope you really appreciate how wonderful LJ is, because, I mean, I was impressed by all the hard work and the running around, and she had everything in her head, and I'm like, how in the world? I read this book, and I went cross-eyed, and it's only like 1/4 and 3/4 of an inch thick, so she's got all this in her head, and we're not the only one she's working on. So I give it to you, LJ. I don't know how you do it, but I certainly appreciate the work that you've been putting in. All right? And that's all I really have. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I don't want to waste everybody's time with silly questions. I can do that offline.
Thank you for saying that, and I do. She's not human. But thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
She hates the praise, I'm sure.
Commissioner Rydell?
Yeah, I want to, first off, Representative Winchowski, thank you so much for highlighting the PAGE program. So I have 2 young daughters. Christine was kind enough to share the aspects of the PAGE and Messenger program with me. I always knew about it in the past, so I was able to get an application in the window and time frame. So I'm hoping, hopefully we get picked, and hopefully I can bring my older daughter up there for what I think would be an amazing experience. So thank you, and Tina, obviously, I'd like to see everybody up there. I have no idea what it is, but I got to take a week off of work to go to Tallahassee. So regrettably, I don't know when that week is going to be, but I will not be joining anyone for Broward Days. Broward Days is actually after our election. So, I mean, it's a little squirrely to say I'm going to Broward Days when we have an election. So I'm not doing that.
We'll miss you.
I mean, candidly, it's, you know, to me, it's because you got to book it and do all this stuff. So I will not be being there for Broward Days, but on my own dime, I'll be up there for whatever week we get selected. So I look forward to that. Candace and Lauren and Bernadette, I just want to thank you all for the communication. The communication, I think, is one of the most important things, and I think everyone does a great job, but I think weekly communications and communicating with us, and I think the mayor and myself have been sitting up here for a while, and we've seen the development of both the state and federal agenda, specifically in issues of water. I know Osama's here, water, specifically with the landfill, taxation issues that are nonpartisan issues that are municipal and local government issues. Specifically, I appreciate Harry and Jim talking about the Bureau of Indian Affairs and some of those issues, because that's been a major development in the city for years, and the shift over the past decade of what that department looks like and some of the decision-making coming out of it really correlates, obviously, to an issue we have going on right now with the development and what goes on with that. I don't want to speak too soon, but that could have a direct impact to an area right next to us. So I appreciate that and the tracking of that. So this has been a true document that's lived and breathed and grown, and all of you have been a part of it, and I just appreciate the activism. Thank you.
Commissioner Wasserman?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, no, it's so many pieces of the puzzle, and for everybody to come together to serve our residents, it means a lot, I think, to us up here who are directly connected with our residents every day, and then you guys as surrogates to lead us up there is just really fantastic. And I was listening to you, and Jim, I thought you were fantastic. I appreciate what you're doing for us, and it was really cool. And Howard Stern's favorite state senator, right? Appreciate you being here. I hear you on there. I do listen.
All the time.
So, Howard is funny. But no, I appreciate all you guys do. It's a team effort, and so many residents don't know what it takes. And I value you, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Go on to the next agenda item. I just really want to summarize it by saying that Bernadette wraps up everything that is provided from the director level and the city manager to make it a packet that comes forward to the needs, not just the wants, but the needs of our city and all of our residents. So just a group thanks to everyone. And of course, Vice Mayor Raley would like to have something to say.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here again. I'll say it again. Thank you, and thank you for all your efforts. As you know, it's been a rough time. Like you say, it has been the perfect storm, especially for our seniors that are living around. And as you know, I represent the majority of my constituents are seniors. So, of course, that's a major concern always for our quality of life and our way of life, but also for the landfill and the turnpike and our water quality. That is so important for each and every one of us and each and every resident. And I really appreciate all the effort and the advocacy that you do make on our behalf. As you know, especially for Coconut Creek, we're right in the middle of this perfect storm with the turnpike, with the landfill, with our water, and that affects our water quality. So thank you. Look forward to coming up, hopefully, and being there during committee week. And thank you for your efforts.
Commissioner Rydell, did you have something additional?
Yeah, my only additional thing was in regarding Sheila. I just wanted the time certain on when the approval. What agenda is the approval coming in on? So this is the workshop. I just wanted to know the agenda meeting for.
We've scheduled it for the second meeting in January. So your next agenda will have the legislative and the state.
Okay, that's all I wanted to
agenda
know.
on.
The meeting that was on.
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys all coming to that or no? Not obviously not. The electeds, I'm sure, or not. I'm just curious. Do any of you intend to be here for that? Just so I know. You guys aren't coming for that? Teresa, no? Eric's, no? Okay. Just asking. That's all.
And so our hope would be that any modifications to this package, we can always continue to modify it over the course of the session.
Absolutely. I was
We
going to
will
tell you
adopt
not
it.
to come. Save some money, but that was, I don't want to speak for everybody.
Well, they could always live stream us.
We don't charge.
There's only 3 people at these tables that don't, so we're very cognizant of that.
All right, now we'll have a ceremonial presentation of an appropriations check, yay, by State Senator Tina Polsky and our State Representative Christine Hovchowski for the Wastewater Infrastructure Improvements Project.
Should we like not be up top? Yeah. That's fine. It's the same.
Sounds good to me.
I'll just pretend I'm doing something.
Yeah, kickoff of the program, yeah, something like that. It is cold in here. Really? Oh, that's too easy. Exactly. It is. It is.
Goal in my adjournment.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take the picture.